sponsored by Herbalife. Which one makes it good?
Herbalife.
Okay, so very quickly, for those of you that were in the last session that we did, the first bit's going to be a bit of a recap, so it might seem a little bit familiar, but I'm going to talk about the results that we did from our project. So we basically focused on the use of talk in practical subjects, obviously that being PE. We started off by doing a questionnaire which Denise put together on a target group of students that were currently, what were they said, was it a 3B? 3B?
3A, 4C.
3A, 4C. And it's a questionnaire around talk and literacy in practical subjects. So whether the talk was important in PE, how well they thought they were doing in verbal responses when we're questioning and having discussions, what might help them to actually do better, and how they felt about speaking in PE. But it can always be quite rushed because we feel like we have less time because of change time. So it's really easy to fall into that old stereotype of asking a question and just going, right, you. So it doesn't always give the opportunities for specific individuals to feedback, and it also gives scope for people just to hide and not really say anything. And what helps them individually with talk and questioning. These are the results we came up with. 83% thought that talk was really important in PE, which was a good sign. 67% felt they weren't confident in speaking to the whole class. And now seeing other lessons in PE, and admittedly sometimes when I'm in a rush, having 60% of them not confident in speaking to the whole class is quite a realisation that we really should not be doing that at all. 72% of them thought they were in the middle for verbal responses, so they didn't say they were really poor, they didn't say they were great, they just thought they were in the middle. And 67% didn't really know how to improve it in PE. And again, that was a bit of a hit home that maybe we weren't doing justice towards these students. They all felt they enjoyed, felt that they made progress, know how to progress, and how to learn a new skill. They thought that's practice, talk about it, which helps. So it was clear that talk was important for them, even in our subjects, which may come across as practical. All of them, from the data, every single one of them wanted to do stuff in small groups and in partners. They didn't want to do any big group stuff. Hardly any of them wanted to stand up in front of a group as a priority and speak to them and discuss things. They wanted to do it in small groups and partner talk. So we put together a list of strategies that we were going to do in our lessons. We planned what activities we were going to do, what was going to fit in with them, and then delivered them with this same group, trying to focus around these 5 students that were doing not so well literacy-wise. So we came across things like carousel questioning, think, pair, share, iPad talk time, which was really successful. They just went off with an iPad and recorded themselves. They didn't even have to speak in front of me or students, so I could watch it back at a later time and see how they got on. All practice no talk, so it's the opposite of actually making them talk. You see how would they do actually without this, to see how important it was. A big focus on extended thinking time, alternative roles like spokesperson. They rotated around as performer and observer and coach and feedback on these things. Different types of talk. So we filmed discussions and worked out what kind of talk was happening. Was it just me talking? Was it the students talking? Was it proactive talking? Was it about the work? Or were they just talking about Xbox and random stuff like that? So we tried to implement all of this across a unit of work and see how it all went, basically. So we kind of went back, reassessed, checked how they were doing along the whole kind of course. They identified that talking really did help their confidence in what they were doing. They had a real understanding of what they were doing rather than just hitting the ball or whatever it was. They actually knew what they were doing, how they do it, and could analyse it. It developed their ability to process ideas, identified that they preferred small groups, like I've already said before, and we decided that we needed to kind of implement this into our units of work and our schemes of work so that we could actually really target this and develop methods, developing talk and understanding, rather than just letting individual teachers go out and just being like, well, I question in this way. We felt like it's something that should be in the scheme of work to really target how you should question and give all the different students different ways of accessing that discussion. We went back and looked at their next assessments in English, so we had their initial assessments and their assessments from afterwards. We went back and had a look. It was hard to know whether what we were doing was making a big difference because they're obviously going to make a natural progression and improve from their English lessons. But just looking at the work, regardless of the levels, the work was so much neater. There was improved spelling, improved grammar, there was a lot more punctuation, capital letters and paragraphs. They were the big things that I saw there, paragraphs, which was really important. there was tracking point 1 to tracking point 5, so it shows that improvement, but again, we've discussed that might have occurred anyway. We don't really know, we've got no way of telling whether what we've been doing with talk, whether that's helped their literacy levels or not.
Yeah, that was me. So as John said, we carried out a questionnaire at the beginning, and then we've just carried out a final questionnaire as well, which asked the same questions, but what we wanted to know was how had their confidence improved, what was their understanding of talk. So you can see that of the students there, now 100% feel that talk is important in PE, where it was a lower figure beforehand. And 60% of them now feel confident speaking to the whole class. So what John and Hannah were doing with the small group work has benefited those students, so that they now are more able to feel confident, or they are more able to speak to the whole class. So it's those small steps, not making them speak to the whole class at the beginning. They didn't like it, but it's building up their confidence so that they can do that now. And 90% of them now know how to improve their talk skills in PE. So we asked particular questions, and we've just picked out highlights for you. So we asked the boys and the girls what might help to improve your responses to questions that they get given in PE. So these are oral questions, because obviously at Key Stage 3 it is all practical. So the boys and the girls fell into their stereotypes. The boys were quite brief. They said that they need to keep practicing, talk with teachers more, and think about it more. Okay, whereas the girls, you can see here we've got much more detailed responses. So they came up with the same things: think, ask the teacher, more communication, joining in more, asking more questions. That one down at the bottom, really, really perceptive. So think of an answer, think it through in my head so it makes sense, and then tell the teacher. Okay, so really step-by-step progress there. And as you can see from this is purposeful student talk. Lots of the things that the students had come up with are identified here. So teacher modeller, you've got questioning, reflecting, guided instruction, again questioning, reflecting, collaborating. So actually the questions that we'd asked them, without showing them this, they'd come up with themselves. Okay. And again from Fisher, Frey and Rothenberg, really, really important. Students need to hear words and then use them. They need to embed particular words, phrases, subject-specific terminology in their own talk. But they need to hear them first and then use them. And then finally, we asked them for their thoughts on PE in the questionnaire. And the first thoughts were, I'm really nervous, scared, etc. And then these are the ones that I picked out that stood out in particular. They were all really positive about PE. But as you can see there, I'm not scared of PE like I was in the beginning. I feel good now. My feelings have changed from scared and nervous to awesome.
Must be my class.
That's your class, yeah. And one down at the bottom from Toby, I know how much work I have to do to succeed in PE. So well done, John. So where to go next?
Okay.
Over to John.
So I forgot to mention at the beginning, this was supposed to be based around new technologies. Now clearly it's more about talk and literacy. So to link it back into new technologies, we looked at how, using all these different strategies, we could actually link this to using the technology in our classes and to help talk and literacy and discussions occurring. So I've already spoken about planning into a season of work, so there's specific different types that you'd have carousel questioning in a specific unit of work that links nicely to. Like I wouldn't use iPad talk and stuff like that in a rugby lesson when it's raining and kids just need to be moving, it needs to be quick. Using terminology from across the curriculum, so if English, for example, we spoke about having, I can't remember some of the terms.
Imperative verbs.
Yeah, like loads of things that we could do on a weekly basis actually in lessons, even if it's just mentioning them in a very small way, so that kind of gets continually scaffolded and they're like, oh, like my PE teacher knows that, or it's someone else that knows it and they can apply it to a practical setting, rather than being sat in a classroom and being like, okay, that's what this kind of verb is. If they're in a lesson, it's like, there's a good example we came up with about orders.
Yeah,
What was it?
imperative verbs like
That's
sit
an
down.
imperative verb. Okay, so if we were to walk in the change room, right, sit down and be quiet, we could refer to that as an imperative verb. And then like, okay, so every time they came up, they could be like, oh yeah, it's when Sarah told me to sit down, I followed an order. So we thought things like that could be really useful actually. I wouldn't mind doing that, and if it makes a difference to their literacy, then I think it's really important. The technology we've talked about using and we've implemented, and through the funding we've started using a camera as well. And the iPad talk was really good, the kids love it. But literally, even people like Toby Hoff have started to use that, sorry I shouldn't have said that, have used it sensibly, really sensibly. They've gone away and sat with an iPad and been able to actually have those discussions and use talk and use the right kind of terms and terminology from our subject area, and he's shown that he's really capable of doing that. If I tried to get a student like him to do that in front of class, it just wouldn't happen. And the GoPro, which is similar to what we've been actually using, and we've been using a different version of the GoPro, has been really useful in the same way, and being able to actually capture a wider group, so actually having it on a stick, like a selfie stick, the kids love it, and engage them straight away, and they can film them as a group, having a conversation about bits and pieces, knowing that I'm going to go through it, listen to it, and give feedback to them on it. We considered having drones. They've been used before, and they hover over groups, like carousel groups, and they film actual discussions, but we thought it'd be quite hard to actually lead a group and to try and steer stuff thrown around. Flip cameras, the same thing, about to make quick recordings of what's going on in the lesson, or coaching, or any feedback that they're giving, so you can hear what's constantly being said in class. And voice recorders, whether it's commentary for non-doers, actually commenting on what's doing, or analysing performance, all these different things really engage them in talk in our subject. And that's it.
That's it.